Good evening and welcome to our webinar this evening. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your schedule to join us. And as we look forward to this, I will go through this process. My name is Dr. Sensnick, and I am in charge of the master's program for the personal financial planning, and also a practicing professor. Alongside us, we also have Jana. She's our admissions representative. And then the most important contact will be Morgan Graham. She's going to go through some of our programs and certificates, and she'll be your primary contact as you go through the admissions process. So with that, let's take a look at the agenda. We will chat for about 30 to 45 minutes and then leave about 10 to 15 minutes for questions. If you could, go ahead and put in the chat where you are from and which program you are most interested in. Please keep in mind that we are recording this and it will be sent out tomorrow to everybody to look at again and rewatch if you so choose. So with that, we will get into it, and we will start out as looking at this from really the perfect profession. We look at this from one that helps people in our community, one with a good income that can help us provide for ourselves and our family, and a lot of flexibility with a lot of opportunity for growth. And when we look at all of those options above there, we find that the financial planning profession has all of them and more. So as we go through tonight, we are going to use the CFP board's definition of financial planning, which is a collaborative process that helps us maximize a client's potential for meeting life goals through financial advice that integrates relevant elements of the client's personal and financial circumstances. A lot of times that means bringing all of the different pieces together from a tax planning standpoint to estate planning, retirement planning, and investment planning, and putting them all together in a way that is a cohesive plan that the client can understand and implement. As you all know, we are not in an age of lack of information, but we are in an age of information saturation. And a big part of our job is to help the client filter through all of that different information and find out what fits their situation best. So a big part of our job is really using the financial planning process to design the lifestyle that they can realistically afford throughout retirement. Sometimes that retirement span can last 40 or more years, so the task we have is definitely not an easy one. If you think about this one statistic, if a couple that is both 50 years of age or older, there is a 50% chance that one of them will live to age 100. So we are not merely planning for 20 or 30 years, but sometimes 40 to 50 years. And so that can be a daunting process, but obviously we start with organization, and sometimes that can be the hardest step. You can have clients that have had anywhere from 5 to 10 different jobs, all with different 401ks, individual investments, and then individual retirement arrangements at multiple brokerages, Vanguard, Fidelity, so forth. And so once we get that all organized, then we can build confidence through our careful consideration of their options, and then the follow-up that happens with regular meetings to check in with their progress on that financial plan. And certainly the financial plan is not a strict roadmap, but it is something that is able to adjust to their changes in life, changes in lifestyle, changes in health. And we always want to make sure that it can adapt to where they are in their current life, and then also looks at future potential changes that may occur. So as I mentioned earlier, there really are a lot of options with this career field. And as you take a look at the chart that's on the screen, you can see that there are options to be on the entrepreneurial side. Certainly this typically includes a high risk, high reward type situation with you owning your own firm. The positive side is you own that book of business in most cases, and then you have complete control over your time. Then you have a mix of options on the right-hand side there with a registered investment advisory firm. You can also go into the counseling side, and then the government and academic research aspects as well. Those typically have a defined career path, usually come with a salary, and then a very determined development and training regimen. And then finally, you can also have the corporate setting with banks, credit unions, brokerage firms like Fidelity and Vanguard. They typically have a blended compensation model with salary, bonus, and commission, as well as a structured training program that goes along with that. And then there's different options in between that there, but you can see a good variety of what it is that you want there. And if you like more of the entrepreneurial side, there's a lot of options there. And if you're more comfortable with the research and some of the benefits that come from the banking and the tech side, then there's definitely options there as well. One possible career path that is fairly traditional in our industry is when you start out as a paraplanner. At this point, you have likely received your CFP designation or very close to doing so. Then you move into a financial planner position with some leadership responsibilities, and then move up to a senior advisor role where you take on more of a business development role and are then responsible for usually bringing clients into the firm as a primary aspect of your job. At the peak of that is the partner role, and this is more ingrained in the recruiting, training, and developing of talent within the firm, and then also some other roles of leadership that come with being at the senior management level. As we look at the salary ranges here, keep in mind they are very general in nature, and location is going to matter, the level of experience that you have, those types of things will all determine the individual compensation and things like that. But you can see here a fairly good estimation of what you can expect with compensation. And then you can also see that the increases in compensation come with a percentage increase in incentives and are bonus driven for a larger portion of your income. It's certainly not the only track, but it is definitely one of the most common paths that we see as we walk through the financial planning career path and career program. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Morgan to talk about our graduate program and certificate programs and let her dive into some more details with that.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Senseneg. So hi, everybody. So glad you're here with us tonight. Appreciate you taking up some time to just come hear about K-State. So my name is Morgan Graham. I am the academic advisor for the grad certificate, master's, and doctoral program in PFP at K-State. So I've been with K-State for a little over a year now, working with grad students. So tonight you'll see I've got, 5 programs listed on the screen. We're going to talk about the first 4. So our grad certificates and our masters. So Dr. Senseneg has kind of walked us through what does the profession look like in financial planning? What are the opportunities that are out there? When I talk to incoming students, prospective students, I find that while not everyone fits into one of these 3 kind of buckets, often here's where I find students coming from. 1, you are already working in financial services, financial planning in some capacity, and you're saying, you know, I really want to find a way to set myself apart. I like to learn, I want to continue my education, but I want to set myself apart. So I'm looking at a master's degree, or I want to get my CFP certification. And so I want to take those classes, be eligible to sit for the CFP exam. A lot of other paths that I find students coming from are career changers. So whether you've started a career kind of few years in and you're thinking, you know, this isn't a good fit, really interested in personal finances, I really want to help people, and financial planning, you know, somehow came across your path and it seemed really intriguing. Who's my other one? Oh, or the third is you just want to learn for yourself. Finances are important for every individual, no matter what their personal circumstances are. And so you want to learn for yourself. And so, you know, if that's you tonight, or if you have other reasons for being interested in the program, I'd love to hear about that. But I want to talk now about, you know, we talked about opportunities. So now I want to see, where does K-State come into all this? Where do our classes come into play? So with our graduate programs, you'll see we've got some grad certificates. We've got personal financial planning, or PFP, so that core CFP content, the financial therapy grad certificate, the advanced financial planning, or the master's. And so we're going to jump through each of these tonight and make sure that you, you know, hopefully that we answer your questions that you've got. So first, I want to start with the financial therapy certificate. That is something that's very distinct to K-State. So what is financial therapy? Sometimes people hear that and they think, whoa, I didn't want to be a counselor. I didn't want to be a therapist. But financial therapy, in short, I like to call it the human side of money. So kind of two prongs to what we do with financial therapy at K-State. So the first is understanding kind of what goes on behind the scenes for clients, for individuals with their money. You know, people enter financial planning relationships with their own background, their own history, their own relationship with money. That could be biases or fears or things that they misunderstand about money, things like that, or goals and motivations behind how they interact with their money. You know, I was at a conference last year and I heard a planner share that clients only apply, I want to say about 20% of the advice that they're given. It's not because they're getting bad advice. They're not getting incorrect advice. It's tried and true. It's something reliable. They're not, you know, the planner's not making it up on the fly. But there are these barriers that prevent people from taking action. So with financial therapy, you're really looking at first, again, what's going on behind the scenes, understanding the theory and the research that's out there about financial behaviors. You could call it client psychology, client communication. If you're a current financial planner, the soft skills, you know, these things that are really emerging in financial planning. So financial therapy is going to look at that. And then it's going to turn to, okay, well, now what do we do with this? We understand it. So what actions can we take now? How do we have conversations with people to help them ultimately reach their goals with money? Financial planning, dealing with people's finances, it's an intimate part of their life. And so that also brings uncomfortable conversations, difficult conversations, relationship dynamics, just different things like that. So helping planners really feel more comfortable entering those conversations with their clients. So that's a financial therapy certificate. And we'll get into what those classes are in a little bit. Now, the advanced financial planning certificate. So this is really designed for students who already have their CFP certification. Dr. Sensenig will be, you'll often hear him describe the CFP content occasionally as was an inch deep and a mile wide. There's a ton of content you have to learn to become a certified financial planner, and with good reason. But because there's so much, there's only so much time you can focus on everything. And so for folks who already have their CFP certification, the Advanced Financial Planning Certificate is going to take it a step further. So you've got professors like Dr. Sensenig who have their PhD, who have their CFP, so they're teaching, but they're also planners in practice. Dr. Sensenig has his own practice. Several of our faculty have their own financial planning practice or are working in firms. And so very case study based, very application based, and just diving further into that content that you would have done for your CFP. So estate planning, retirement, tax, and then also practice management. So if you're looking at either you're in a leadership role or you want a leadership role, you want to have your own firm, practice management will be part of that advanced financial planning certificate. Now, the one that I didn't mention before, or within those last two slides, is the PFP certificate. And we can't move on without talking about that one, because we find that's what draws a lot of students to K-State. So the PFP grad certificate itself, that is that core CFP curriculum. And so insurance, retirement, investments, tax, estate, and case studies, those are the classes that are going to make you eligible to sit for the CFP exam. So I've talked about graduate certificates so far, but one thing that's really cool about the program at K-State, so you can do any of those collections of classes or sequences of classes as a grad certificate. So you come in, you do the 6 PFP classes or the 4 financial therapy or the 4 advanced financial planning, and you get a graduate certificate. It's 4 academic credits at the graduate level, but you get a certificate. Or if you apply for the master's, you're still going to earn the master's degree. You're going to combine 2 of those certificates together. So the master's is 10 courses. So you would do either the 6 PFP with the 4 financial therapy or the 6 PFP with the 4 advanced planning. If you already have your CFP, then you'll do financial therapy with advanced planning and a couple of electives. So you'll still earn that master's degree, but along the way, you're also receiving grad certificates in these areas. So you'll get a printed certificate you can frame, put on your wall. You can highlight it on your resume as a specific focus area that you studied as part of your master's. And so you still come away with both degree and certificates when you do the full master's. Other thing I just want to point out on this slide is what the classes are that comprise the financial therapy certificate. So we have Intro to Financial Therapy, Money and Relationships, Applied Behavioral Finance, and then financial therapy theory and research. So really just giving a good chance for you to read a lot of the current literature and research that's out there around financial therapy. A lot of that is happening at K-State. So with K-State faculty, with K-State doctoral students or doctoral grads, a lot of that research is coming from K-State. We've already briefly talked about the advanced financial planning classes, so I won't touch on those much more. I did mention electives that students might take. So these are just a few of what we see. There are a couple of others, but these are kind of the main ones we see students really benefiting from as part of the master's if you're in a position to need electives. So leadership, conflict resolution, financial counseling, a little more investments or case studies, if that's something that you're interested in. So why K-State? I could think of a lot of reasons, but here are the main ones I want to focus on tonight. So committed faculty. So at K-State, all of our financial planning faculty are CFP professionals. So if you're looking at getting your CFP, they've been there, they've done that, they know that process. They also have that practical experience of being a financial planner in practice. So like I mentioned before, they are all practicing CFPs with their own firms or working within a firm. So they're committed to the profession. They're committed to that knowledge and that expertise, but they're also committed to you as students and helping prepare you to be the best financial planner you can be. Student support. So that's coming from me as your academic advisor. That's coming from Jana and her team at K-State Online. We really just have just troves of people just here at K-State, here to support you as a student. Yes, this program is 100% online. So you're doing this at a distance. We're in Manhattan, Kansas, nearly smack dab in the middle of the US. We have students from all across the country. I saw someone in the chat that I think I saw Dubai. Correct me if I saw that incorrectly. We have students all over. I have a student currently in Germany. And so all over the globe, all over the country, but K-State Online is still here to support you. Students will move through the program in a cohort. So there is a fairly rigid sequence to the courses that you'll take. We can talk about timeline, but so you're going to start seeing familiar names and faces in your classes. And so I see a lot of students building study groups out of that, which is really, really helpful. So you're still getting that support of your classmates, even though you're doing this from a distance. All of our master's classes are 8 weeks long. And so typically what we see students do is 2 classes per semester, but 1 at a time. And so at that pace, it takes about 2 years to finish the full master's degree. So 2 years for the master's. If you're doing just the PFP certificate, so the core CFP content, that takes about 14 months. If you're doing financial therapy, that takes about 2 semesters, and same for the advanced financial planning, it's 2 semesters. So I find that a lot of students really like that clip of 8-week courses. It keeps things going, keeps things moving. It does take content and push it into a shorter amount of time, but they like that pace that the 8 weeks set. With the 8-week courses, that is designed with students who are working full-time in mind. And so really, basically everybody in our program is working full-time while they're balancing the master's degree. And so it's designed for that purpose. Live Zoom sessions once a week. And so all of our classes, they're going to be asynchronous in that they don't have required class meeting times, but there is an optional Zoom meeting every single week for every single class. So that's still a great chance to engage with your instructor, engage with your classmates, ask questions, and hear live conversations, things like that. But again, we know our students are all across the country, all across time zones, busy jobs, busy lives, busy families. So if you can't make those, that's okay. They'll be recorded for you. The program does meet the educational requirement to sit for the CFP exam. So if CFP is your goal, then that will qualify you there. We are also an educational partner with AFCPE. So if you're interested in the AFC, the Accredited Financial Counselor, we do meet the education requirements there. I'm going to pause real quickly just to read the question that we got, because I think it's related here. Okay, so good question. I will go ahead and answer that right now. So if you do the master's, do you take time to get your CFP prior to moving forward with other certificate programs? Really good question. That's going to vary student to student. So as your advisor, we would sit down and talk about that and build out your own graduation plan. What I do often see, though, is that for students coming in doing the master's, they'll go through the core content first. So you'll wrap up case studies. About at that point, you'll usually have one exam that's coming up in a few weeks and then another exam a few months out. More often than not, I will encourage this. I worked at CFP board for 5 years before coming to K-State. We at CFP board encouraged it there as well. We're not going to encourage sitting for the exam immediately after case studies. We'll usually say sit for the next one and build in time for a review course between then. But I do often see students who will go for the exam, complete that, take the time off from classes to prepare, and then sit for the exam, and then come back and finish their remaining 4 classes. It'll depend on if you're doing the CFP content with financial therapy or if you're doing with advanced planning. If you're doing financial therapy, you are kind of shifting that mindset from the technical content to, that financial therapy side, client communication, client behaviors, whereas the advanced financial planning, you're continuing on and building on that core content. So again, it will vary student to student, but I do often see students who just take about a semester off and sit for the exam and then come back and finish the master's, and they're done in a semester or 2. K-State also does allow for that. So that's okay to take that break if needed. So hopefully that answers your question. If you have any other questions as we're going on, you can put them in the chat, do the Q&A, whatever you need. Okay, so now hopefully we've sold you and you're ready to be a K-State Wildcat. You're ready to wear some purple and be a part of what we've got going on here. So here's the application requirements. So first, looking on the left-hand side, if you're applying for the PFP certificate, the advanced planning, or the master's. So here's everything that's going to be required. A copy of your resume, a personal statement, about a page is fine. If you've never written a personal statement for a graduate program before, Engage the Sage. That is a YouTube channel from a K-State professor, I believe in leadership. And so he's got about a 10-minute video that just kind of walks you through how to write a personal statement for a graduate program. So heavily encourage just checking that out. He's got good advice on there. So Engage the Sage, writing excellent personal statements, just about 10 minutes. So your resume, a personal statement, unofficial transcripts. So when you apply, you're going to submit unofficial transcripts from anywhere you attended prior to K-State. Once you're admitted, you will have to follow up with official transcripts, but unofficial work with the application. References, you'll need 3 of those. And I do want to highlight, make sure your references know your timeline for starting classes, because we can't review your application until all materials are received, including references. Unfortunately, I have seen students miss the time that they want to start class because their references didn't respond in time. We do encourage students to apply at least 4 weeks before classes start, just so we have plenty of time to get your application reviewed, get you enrolled, get you started. So make sure your references know your timeline. In terms of what your references will send, they really aren't going to spend too much time working on this. Their reference is going to be 2 parts. So first, they'll have a table of items that they're just going to kind of rank you on a Likert scale. So, high to low on certain items. I think it's about 10 or 15 items. It takes just a couple minutes for them to finish that part. And then they'll just either write their statement right there into the system, or they can upload a letter they've already written. So the most time they'll spend is on the letter of recommendation that they write for you. And then the final piece is the application fee. So I did talk about applying, 4 weeks before classes start. So when do classes start? There's 5 points in the year to start any of these programs. So January, March, June, August, and October. So again, with 8-week classes, we have rolling admissions, so you can really jump in at any of those 8-week points. Now, if you're listening and you're thinking, okay, I have my own timeline, I've got work to consider, maybe tax season is hard for you, or you've got travels, or just different things. If you want to set up a meeting with me and we can create your own sample graduation plan, I'm more than happy to do that. So we can set up time to chat, and we'll talk then about how to get a hold of us. And then just quickly shifting over to the financial therapy certificate. So it's everything that we already talked about minus references. So for the financial therapy certificate, you don't have to have references. Now, as you're looking at considering applying, what do I do? It sounds, trying to decide which program is best fit for you. If you know that you definitely want to do one of these grad certificates, you want your CFP, and you're thinking, well, advanced financial planning sounds interesting, financial therapy sounds interesting, I'm not sure yet, but I might do it. I might do the full master's. I recommend just applying for the master's up front. If you apply for the certificate and you go through the classes and you finish, you get the certificate, and then you say, okay, now I want to finish the master's. It's 4 classes away. I just want to go ahead and do the whole thing. You'll have to reapply and be admitted to the master's. So that would be 2 applications, 2 application fees, references 2 times, all that stuff. If you apply for the master's just up front, you're still going to get their certificates along the way, like I mentioned earlier. So if you get through the core classes and you think, you know what, that's enough, I'm good, I've got what I need, you're still going to get that grad certificate, even if you don't finish the master's, but you've already left the door open to continue on and get the full degree, which is just 4 classes away. So I recommend just doing that up front. We had the question about, building in a break for the CFP exam. Students can take up to 2 years off between classes before you have to reapply to K-State. So if you get through the grad certificate you start with and you're like, I just need a break, life's gotten crazy, that's okay. You can take a break for up to 2 years and then jump right back in and still finish that degree. So long story short, I would just apply for the master's up front if you think there's any possibility you would want 2 of the certificates, just to save you the hassle of having to apply twice. So we just have a few more things to cover, and then I'll get to some of these questions that have come in. So some questions that we get. So the current tuition and fees, I will say this is just posted through the summer, and so this could look different for the fall, but the current price is $635 per credit hour. All of our courses are 3 credits. For the master's, it's 30 credits total. For the core certificate, it's 18 credits. Financial therapy and advanced planning, those are both 12 credits. So you can just multiply that number by whichever one you're looking at. Scholarships, we do get asked about scholarships. So K-State Online, K-State Grad School, they do have some out there. With the K-State Online scholarships, it's just a common application. And so you just fill it out once. And then if there are any that you qualify for, you'll be notified. We already talked about the timeline for applying. So at least 4 weeks before your classes start. So the earliest opportunity or the next earliest opportunity is going to be starting in August. So I would recommend, if possible, to submit an application by about July 15th, somewhere in there, about mid-July, just so we have plenty of time to get you set up for the fall. We get asked, is the GRE or the GMAT required? It is not for the master's or the grad certificate, just for the doctoral program. Just as a really, really quick plug for the doctoral program, a lot of people will ask, will this feed into the doctoral program? PhD is on the horizon for me. Short answer is yes, it will. And we can talk about that. Dr. Sensenegg can talk about that because he did that. And so he is a grad of our PhD program, as well as the master's, if I'm remembering correctly. So those classes do apply towards the doctorate, and I'm happy to talk to you about that. And then just quickly for our contact information, you can contact me or Dr. Sensenegg at pfp@ksu.edu, or you can contact Jana and her team at online@ksu.edu. Either is fine. We're happy to talk to you at either address. Okay, so then next steps, ready to apply. So here's where you're going to go, just online.k-state.edu and click on how to apply. Just as a friendly reminder, this is a recording. Sometimes I do talk a little faster than I probably should. I should slow down a little bit. So if I've rushed through everything, there will be a recording of this available. It'll come to your email. I'm not entirely sure that timeline, but it'll come to your email so you can watch us back. Our contact information here, I am also going to put in the chat the link to my Calendly. So I'll type that in here in a sec. And then if anybody wants to set up a meeting with me, there it is in the chat. Oh, nope, I sent that to the host. I'll do that to everybody. I'll do that in a second. But if you ever want to set up a meeting with me, again, just to ask any questions, create a sample graduation plan for you, look at your timeline, whatever that may be, my Calendly is there. So just feel free to set up an appointment. Let me know who you are, what you're interested in when you set that up, and I'm more than happy to talk to you. So with that, again, here's our team. I'm going to pause for a second and look at these questions. And if you have any other questions, again, drop them in the chat or use the Q&A feature. Are all the materials included in the tuition? So the only other materials you'll need for class are your textbook and a financial calculator. Those are separate from the tuition. With the textbooks, you'll usually have the option of either a hard copy or a digital copy, and then some if they have any online assignments that are associated with the textbook, things like that. That'll come with that purchase, but those are separate from the tuition. And then another question, do we have a CFP review class? So we do not have one specifically hosted by K-State. There are a few that are out there that offer discounts for K-State students. There are several that I've worked with over the years that I've got really good opinions of. Happy to talk to you about those. So there are options out there that are separate from K-State, but that is a good item to mention is the review class. So we are a CFP board registered program. You're eligible to sit for the CFP exam after you finish at K-State. And so folks will say, okay, so am I ready for the exam after I graduate? Yes and no. Yes, we cover the content you need. However, the process of taking our classes and the process of preparing for the exam, those are really two different things. And so CFP board recommends about 225 hours of review and study before the exam. That is separate from the registered program, no matter where you go. So that's where a review class is highly recommended, whether you do it live or self-study or whatever that may look like, but that will be separate from K-State. And then are you able to substitute the LSAT for the GRE or the GMAT for the doctoral program? Unfortunately, we cannot. A GRE or a GMAT score is required to apply for the doctoral program. The scores just have to be dated within 5 years of your application. So if you've already taken it somewhat recently, then you don't have to take it again, but it does have to be GRE or GMAT scores for the doctoral application. Are there any recommended financial calculators to be sure we get the right one? Yes. And let me see if I can pause my share for a second so I can pull up.
Morgan, I'll give the answer.
Okay, there we go. I was gonna have to pull up the syllabus.
Yeah, the HP 10B2 is the way to go.
Okay, perfect.
And I think it's 20 or 30 bucks, maybe.
Perfect.
So,
do you mind adding that name into the chat as well?
Of course.
Thank you. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I am 3 years into this and I still struggle with screen share. So let me try again. Okay, so here's our contact information. We'll just leave that up there. Let's see, any prerequisite courses for the financial therapy certification? So that's a really good question. If you do not have any past coursework in financial planning, or are not currently working in financial planning, then you will have the fundamentals of financial planning as a prerequisite course. And so you'll take that. So that would up the financial therapy certificate from 4 to 5 classes. So that fundamental course is really just an overview of personal financial planning, looking at those topic areas from the CFP content. But that is required. So with the financial therapy classes, you're not going to be doing technical financial planning. But there are going to be financial concepts that we want students to be familiar with. You know, we do have students that come from the mental health field or, you know, therapy or social work, things like that. And so you're looking at, well, these are themes that are coming up in my practice. I don't work in financial planning. I'm never going to. So you might not be as familiar with some of these concepts. And so that is the point where we want students to just be familiar with those financial planning concepts. So you'll take fundamentals. If you have financial planning classes in the past, or you are working as a financial advisor, maybe you've got your series licensing, things like that, then you don't need that fundamentals. So there would be that possible prerequisite course for financial therapy, and we would talk about that one-on-one. Okay, so good questions. Oh, there's another one. Is the fundamentals course available at K-State, or where is it recommended to take it from? So yes, we offer the fundamentals through K-State. That one is offered basically every single semester multiple times. So there's a lot of opportunities to take it. If you're located in Kansas, and so, you know, you've got different institutions under KBOR, so Kansas Board of Regents. I talked to a student recently who's going to do fundamentals through a smaller college in her area. And so it's equivalent, it's under KBOR. So if you're local to Kansas, then there's opportunities there, or you can do it through another institution. We would just talk about that one-on-one, really just making sure that you're getting the content that you need to be successful. So, but all that to say, yes, the fundamentals course is available at K-State. Okay. So you don't have to have an undergrad degree in finance or psych to take the financial therapy classes. Correct. You do not. You do not have to have a background in finance, financial planning, therapy, counseling, anything like that. Anyone can come in, because really what you're learning through financial therapy is relevant for you as an individual, and then potentially as well as a professional. These are really concepts that can help strengthen your relationship with money. It can help strengthen your personal relationships, whether that is with a spouse or a partner, with a family member, with your children, your friends, whoever. There's benefit from it both academically, professionally, and personally. So anyone from any background, we're happy to have you. We just have tremendous faculty, Dr. Megan McCoy, Dr. Megan Lertz, so we have two Megans. Dr. Senseneg teaches in that program as well. So, highly recommend just looking them up online, Megan McCoy, Megan Lertz, and also Dr. Derek Senseneg. Happy to have you in class and just really make it a great experience for you. Okay, so my Calendly, so that's just a scheduling website. So my Calendly is in the chat, just calendly.com/Morgan Graham KSU. You're welcome to email me. You can set up a meeting. Happy to talk to you one-on-one. Just really about what could be a good plan for you. We're planners here at K-State PFP, of course. So happy to talk to any of you, but if there are no other questions at this point, then I think we will go ahead and I think Jana will close us out. But I just want to thank you all again for being here. Hope to hear from you and just wish you well in your graduate journey. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Senseneg and Morgan for their presentation, and I want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight. We also want to let everyone know that we have application fee waivers available for those who attended the webinar live tonight and who are applying for the fall 2023 semester. So please just reach out to us at online@ksu.edu when you are ready to apply, and we will provide you with that code. Finally, like Morgan said, if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great night.